Good morning, Lourdes.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Doing very well. Still sticking to my exercise routine. Pretty good. Not exact, but I think it's part of the recovery. But allow myself to recover a little bit more than what I thought because I'm doing weights and I haven't been doing weights for a while. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah,
yeah,
good
yeah,
for you. Nice consistency.
yeah. How are
So,
you?
way to go. I'm good. I have not been lifting my weights. I really ought to be.
I'm
You
I'm
know,
I'm now I'm
you know,
lifting tea. I'm lifting tea.
my go-to is walking. I
Hmm.
really love to walk. And I
Yeah.
and I have some ankle weights that I really should
Oh,
just
that's
put
right.
on. I lent them to one of my daughters, and I haven't gotten them back from her yet, but
Hmm.
I totally need to do that and then just put them on, and then I'll in a, I guess, more passive way, get
Hmm.
in some, weight bearing.
It's so good for bone density.
I
You
know.
know. Yeah, that's really what it is,
Yeah.
and it increases your cardio. It's a better workout
Yeah.
to do the. I'm gonna add a. I love walking. I'm gonna add a weight vest.
Nice.
Not too heavy though. Just a
Yeah.
couple of pounds to get started, and then just increase it a little by little, slowly but surely.
Hmm.
So,
Excellent.
let me get our first slide in, right? So, what causes humiliation? And before we started to do the live stream, I asked you, right? Why are we speaking about humiliation?
And what I shared is that basically, there's a lot of common humanity in humiliation. At some point, we have all experienced a very humiliating event, occurrence, and we think it's just us. We feel very isolated in that experience. And
Hmm.
so this is, shining a light on the fact that, yes, we have all experienced some degree of humiliation. And because we feel such shame and embarrassment over it, it's one of the things that we don't delve into, that we don't share, that we don't talk about.
Hmm.
And we end up carrying this burden all around with us for decades, and it really hampers us, holds us back, and prevents us from moving forward in our lives and creating the life that we want. So it's really important to talk about humiliation, and obviously with our approach of sharing what causes it, and also giving tips about how to get past it, right?
Right. Yeah. And one of the other things is that humiliation has different coping skills that in order for us to handle our humiliation, what our reaction actually is. And in some cases, if you have an issue with anger, a lot of times your reaction to being humiliated is what's causing your anger. And there's other, where you isolate. And so feeling alone also is another coping mechanism. But so yes, I agree with you. This is entirely a great um, a great talk for us to introduce people to and make it more. You know, other people are doing it, as you said. Other people are having this experience of humiliation.
Yeah. And so, in listening to our conversation, people can have the sense of that they are not alone, that they're not the only ones who have had this experience, and also gain some clarity in, like you said, what's driving the behavior of, having a hairline trigger for
Hmm.
anger, or isolating, or, you know, feelings of less than, inadequacy, lack of worthiness and value. All of that can, might have been born in a situation where one felt humiliated,
Right.
right?
And yeah. And so let's begin. So what causes humiliation, right? Often it arises. because we're exposed to being ridiculed or devalued in front of other people. And this could include, you know, especially in our beginning, you know, our first 7 years when we're absorbing everything. But if when it does happen, it could happen at school, it could happen at home, it could happen at you know, you're shopping with your parents or one of your parents, and you're humiliated there. It can happen at a party. It could happen anywhere, right? So
Right. And just, to, in childhood and in adulthood,
right,
right? It's not like there's a closed window of this only happens in, during certain times, right?
right, correct. So when does it happen, right? It's when expectations clash with our reality. You know, we think we're being funny, and maybe it's not the right time, and so somebody says something to us, so we're embarrassed, and our self-image or our competence is undermined, or often unexpected, or often it's unexpectedly done to us. So we're not expecting for somebody to say something to us that would humiliate us.
Yeah. Power imbalances. Humiliation is frequently tied to situations where someone holds power over us and is exploiting our vulnerabilities.
Right. And then the social rejection or ridicule. Again, it's like being laughed at, rejected, or belittled, especially in a group. And then that definitely intensifies the humiliation.
And violation of dignity, when we feel disrespected or treated as less than human, it strikes at the core of our sense of worthiness.
And then the loss of control. Humiliation leaves us feeling powerless or exposed. And, you know, when it just reinforces that sense of vulnerability. And that's the key, that feeling vulnerable is a very difficult situation. Yeah. And so, again, you know, why is it difficult to let go of humiliation? Why can't we just, you know, just shake it off? It just stays with us.
Yeah, it hits at the core of who we are, and that I believe that's part of why we can't. But emotional intensity, the feelings of shame, embarrassment, and powerlessness tied to humiliation are deeply painful and can linger for long periods.
Yeah, and then, you know, it impacts our self-worth. You know, we begin to doubt, you know, who we are. We get a direct hit to our sense of identity and self-esteem, and it makes us question, you know, our value in the eyes of other people.
And then, of course, memory and printing, the emotional sting of humiliation creates such strong memories that they're difficult to shake, and they keep replaying in our minds. It's like that earwig that we can't get rid of.
Right, and then that carries right into that fear of the recurrence. I mean, we keep thinking, oh, this is going to happen again. I better watch out. We don't want to be humiliated again. So that memory sticks with us because it has an emotional component, and that emotional component of vulnerability is very, very strong. And so it makes that fear even greater. So we're protecting ourselves, and we continue to protect ourselves from future pain because of that intensity of the emotion that you have when you feel vulnerable. It's it's hard.
Yeah. And you're out of safety. And then there's social pressure when humiliation happens publicly. The social consequences, like shame and embarrassment, it feels a lot harder to escape, when you have an audience to your humiliation.
Right. And it's interesting because, you know, when it happens socially, again, like you said, you're not alone. People, we all experience moments where we feel humiliated. It's not something where the human experience has humiliation. And the thing is, how do we bounce back from it? Right? How does it not anchor us where now we have these, triggers for anger, this aloneness, and the other emotions that we mentioned before, the other things, the coping mechanisms that we have in order to try to not feel as vulnerable, not feel that pain. So how we begin to let go of that humiliation is, the biggest thing. And I love that this is first because, as I said before, the emotion itself is so intense that it makes the imprint greater. So first, we begin to acknowledge that emotion, and you allow yourself to feel and process that hurt, that shame, that anger, and recognizing. And research shows that naming these emotions can help diminish the power that they have over you.
Yeah. And, I just want to add in that with regards to letting go of humiliation, this is really best done with
Mm-hmm.
help. Like, go to your therapist,
Mm-hmm.
see your coach, work with someone to work through this process of letting go of humiliation. It's so much more effective, and it will also it will cut the time
Mm-hmm.
of being able to do this work, which is really challenging. This is challenging work for sure.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
And coaches and therapists, and we have tools that we can use to help you. Just like sometimes it's so fast because that shift in the perspective allows you to move forward, right?
absolutely. And so reframe the experience, try to see the event from a different perspective. It may have been an isolated incident, and not a reflection of your true worth or abilities. And that leads into, kind of the stories that we create
Right.
from a humiliating occurrence, an event. We create stories and um, that attack our value and our worthiness.
Right. I mean, the biggest thing is that most people think that there's something wrong with them, and there's nothing wrong with you. What's wrong is the veils that you have from these experiences that you have to let go. And why that's, again, why the reframing is so important, because there's nothing wrong with you. You've been led to believe that there's something wrong with you, but there's nothing. The freedom that you gain is the realization that you are so powerful, that you are so beautiful, that you are, you're not perfect, because there's no such thing, but you're an amazing person, and you have your own contributions that you can provide to everyone. You're useful to people, and just having the ability to love and express that love to others freely by, doing the work, letting go of the humiliation. But let me go on.
Well,
Um,
but to that, I want to add, this inherent value and
mhm,
worthiness, without having to do anything or be anything.
right,
We are all inherently worthy and valued.
right. So the process of cultivating self-compassion, because you start to treat yourself with kindness, you practice self-forgiveness. You think, who I'm becoming, who I am. I wouldn't do that again under, those circumstances ever. But at that time, that's what I knew, and I did the best that I could. Now I know better. I won't do that again. Free yourself from the suffering by releasing yourself from the pain that you have from doing it. Don't go into self-judgment, go into self-compassion, because self-compassion is going to elevate you. Self-judgment is just going to keep you down. So the practice of self-forgiveness is tremendous, and so compounding in what it gives you.
Mm. Yeah, and I'm just going to jump back to challenge negative beliefs.
Oh, sorry.
Humiliation often, quite all right. Humiliation often reinforces negative self beliefs. So, actively work to challenge these thoughts, reminding yourself that you are worthy and that the incident doesn't define you.
Definitely. And then I'll go to shift your focus to growth, right? So use the experience as an opportunity for personal growth. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? And move forward with the knowledge. And just asking yourself, well, what can I learn from this shifts your shifts where you're going. Instead of going through the path of self-judgment or going down a road that is so negative, you're starting to create a new neural network that allows you to move forward. And that's a huge question.
Yeah. I like it as what is this? What is this here to teach me?
Right. Right. I like that. I
Yeah.
like that.
Let go of external validation. This is a really tough one for
I
a lot of
agree.
people.
I
Um,
agree.
you know, and it's one of those situations where oftentimes that external validation is to keep you on a treadmill or to keep you behaving in a certain way and doing for others, right?
Right.
But work on finding validation from within. When your sense of self worth comes from internal sources, the external events like humiliation lose their grip. So it's really important to cultivate that inner sense of validation without relying on external validation and how other people uh, praise, laud, and applaud you.
Right. Very strong. Talk it out, right? Share your feelings with a trusted friend or therapist, a coach. Verbalizing that experience can help you to release some of the emotional weight, and that's a huge thing. When you release that emotional weight, that event loses its power. And so there are different techniques that we use to allow you to release that emotional weight. And then on top of that, that shift in perspective that you have is freedom. It releases you from the suffering of that event, and it no longer has the hold on you that is creating that anger, that is creating the isolation or any of the other coping mechanisms that you're currently using. It allows you to live your life.
And then forgive those involved. I'm sure you've all heard it before. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing the behavior, but it's about freeing yourself from that emotional burden and entanglement that you have with this other person. It's about liberating yourself, and it's not doesn't have anything to do with condoning their actions. It's about freeing yourself from being tethered to that person and that event and everything that occurred.
And most people have baggage with their parents. And the thing is that we all like to say they should have done this, they should have done that. Why didn't they do this? And why didn't they do that? You know, we don't know. Nobody knows why somebody didn't do something. Maybe they were dealing with something. And it's not to excuse them, but the thing is to say, hey, that's in the past. And if I keep focusing on that, it's not going to allow me to see my opportunities and to live my life, to live in joy and gratitude. And so at some point and again with a therapist or a coach, you look at that and you let it go, and you think, you know what? Something happened to this person, to him or to her, that didn't allow them to be better if for me, you know and it's done with. I'm not going to I'm not going to go to the past and change those events. So I've got to let it go, because fighting with the past is what creates a lot of suffering and just keeps you stuck. Just keeps you stuck. And by forgiving them, it's like you allow yourself to be released from that stuck. You're no longer in the mud. You're going forward beyond that. And it doesn't have to be in person.
Yeah, yeah. And since you brought it up about
Mhm.
parents, as a parent myself, um, we're only human, and we are going to make mistakes. And our behavior on any given day is a reflection of the resources that we currently have access to, our knowledge base, what we've been exposed to. And yeah, and so, I tell my daughters all the time that I am only human and that I am going to make mistakes. And I certainly apologize for things that I've done or have done or will do. It's like we are only human. We are only human. And um, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is that, as children, we think that, and it's natural, all of us, we think that the world revolves around us. We're very egotistical, and we think that the only reason mom and dad are around is because we are there and they're there to serve us. It's a flaw in our thinking. And so the expectations are just so huge that I don't think any parent can meet the expectations of their child, right? And especially if you have more than one child, good luck, right? Good luck. It's not going to happen. So those of you that have multiple siblings, be grateful for your siblings and understands that your parents had no shot. Zero shot of meeting everybody's expectations and needs and wants. It's difficult. It's very difficult. So, where were we? Practice mindfulness. Is that where we were?
Yes.
Yes. And this is your favorite thing. This is, and of course, I love it. But when you start focusing on the present moment rather than replaying the event over and over again in your mind, the technique of meditation, it can help you detach that negative emotion that's tied to the humiliation. So I hope that you people are understanding that the big thing is to take the emotional part of that event out of the memory. And that is when you just blow the door open, because now your emotions are free and you acknowledge them and you can feel them and let them pass through, right? It's like they're guests in your house and you welcome them with love and compassion. Again, no self judgment, no criticism. They're guests in your home. Treat them with love. They did what they needed to do, those parts of you, and just love them and be grateful, because it's at different levels they did protect you to move forward.
Beautifully said, Maria. Yeah. As you know, practicing mindfulness is something that I recommend to everyone, because the benefits are just so astounding when we can really focus in on the present moment and not be, in a reverie of the past or a fantasy of the future. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Engage in empowering activities. Rebuild your confidence by engaging in activities where you feel competent, strong, and in control. This can help restore your sense of self and reduce the impact of humiliation. It's about coming back to your strengths and showing yourself, demonstrating for yourself that you have abilities and strengths and are competent.
Yeah, and one thing that I when you exercise, you release endorphins. That makes you feel good. When you sit in meditation, you release serotonin. That makes you feel good. When you pet your pets, or you engage in loving conversation, you release oxytocin, right? So you're getting these kicks. So do the practices so that it can help you elevate, so that you can feel good, right? And letting go of humiliation is a process. It requires time and self-awareness. Again, speak to somebody. It's easier. One of the problems that we have as children is that we didn't have somebody to talk to when we were in emotional pain. And just if we had had somebody, it would have been easier. And so give yourself what your parents didn't give you. Give yourself someone to talk to so that you can discuss your emotional pain and what you went through so that you can release yourself, gain the freedom that you are entitled to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's I think the best investment that one can make in themselves is getting past their past.
Yes. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Getting past your past. Definitely.
I'm
All
sure
right.
it's a book title somewhere.
It's a, it's probably a few books, Getting Past Your Past.
Yeah.
Yeah. I I think one of the eye movement therapy books is actually called Getting Past Your Past. That's funny. Yes. So definitely look. But that's a great title nonetheless. And how you said that was beautiful. Yes.
And as always, if anyone listening needs help, please reach out. We are here to help.
Yeah. We will see you on Thursday for our Q&A. Have a great week.